while we are waiting, what we like to do in the beginning of our workshops is do pitches for everyone. We would like you guys to just say a little bit about yourselves, pitch your business, tell us exactly what you do, what you provide, what type of services or products you provide, and how we can assist you in successfully growing and scaling your business. Anyone would like to kick us off this morning? Oh, I see you unmiking, Simone.
Yes, I am. Good
Kick
morning,
us off.
everyone.
Let's go.
Hi, my name is Simone McNitt, and I am the owner of Talent Inclusion Partner, and I am a full-service HR consultant. I provide HR services for small businesses and entrepreneurs, and I help the mature worker find the perfect position for them when they're going into their second career.
Wow, that's fantastic. Make sure we have your information in our chat. Make sure you include some action items, how they can get in contact with you as well, email, phone number, and exactly what the name of your business is.
Excellent.
We like to create we like to create some synergies while we are doing our workshops. There may be someone on the call that needs your services.
Excellent. Thank you. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. And Simone, I have a question for you. What is your greatest opportunity that you're experiencing right now with your business?
Actually, I've got a lot of questions as far as how to navigate. People are seeing a lot of openings, but they're not thinking that they're for them. And once we dive into what they're really looking for and they're open to trying something new, I've actually had a lot of people pivot and they're taking these positions and loving it.
Outstanding. Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Yes.
Anyone else would like to share their business, share what they do, what they provide, their services, pitch their business to us and those on the call today?
Hi, my name's Diane, and I'm filling in for David Smith. He got called on an emergency on a job. So I'm here filling in for him. I'm the office manager.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about David's business? Yes, tell us about his business. What do you guys do?
It's a full service construction company. They do commercial and residential as well. So
are you guys located in Lake County?
Yes.
Oh,
yes,
okay, perfect. Where are you located?
In Painesville.
Oh, perfect.
Painesville, Ohio.
Thank you. Make sure we have your information in the chat.
Yes.
Name of the business and exactly where you're located.
Okay.
Thank you for sharing.
Well, thank
you for joining. Anyone else like to pitch their business?
Let us hear your elevator pitch. Tell us about your business.
Absolutely. That is one thing that you definitely want to get used to doing.
Okay, where is that? Because I don't see the chat line.
Chat's in the bottom, Diane.
Oh, thank you. Everybody's hearing me. Whoops.
Yep. It's in the bottom, right in the middle, next to the participants.
I know what it looks like. It's usually, just don't see that.
It might be under more. Yeah, it is. If you go under more, and then you can hit chat.
Okay, I don't even see more. Hold on. All right, hang on, sorry.
All right, hi everyone. I'm Pam Morris. I'm with the MBAC board, and I'm also a business owner in Lake County. We have several businesses under our umbrella, and I'm happy to be here. This month, what we're looking for are folks who want to move back from the state of Florida or the state of Texas or the state of Nebraska or Missouri. We have a moving company and we have loads going that way, and we need some more tonnage to return back to the Cleveland area. So if you hear of any friends or relatives, hopefully friends or relatives, not enemies, who want to move back into the Cleveland area, make sure you look up Morse Van Lines. We've been serving the community for 62 years, and our family moves your family. So we're actually starting the 4th generation of movers. My great nephew is here working at 16. So we're 4th generation.
Fantastic, Pam.
Thank you, Pam. So what is your tagline, Pam? Did you just give us your tagline? That's also
Family moves your family.
all right.
Make sure we have that info, Pam, in our chat.
Sure. And Grant, thank you for being on here today. I appreciate that.
Oh, my pleasure.
Everyone, but Grant's one of our speakers. So thanks, Grant.
Absolutely.
All right. So does anyone else want to give their elevator pitch right now?
What does Darcy do? Darcy Daniels, what do you do? I guess Darcy's not there. Or did we hear from Felicia Jackson?
Alicia Jackson is one of she's with Urban League.
Okay, great. I don't see her picture, so.
Yeah, she just got on.
Hi,
Okay.
that's actually our part of our logo. I'm Felicia Jackson. I'm with UBiz Venture Capital. I'm the marketing and client relationship manager. I'm affiliated with MBAC. We're part of the umbrella of the Entrepreneurship Center at Urban League of Greater Cleveland. So if any of you are a minority-owned business that needs funding, please reach out to me. I can put my email or our email in the chat box for you.
Perfect. Thank you, Felicia.
You're welcome.
All right. Does anyone else want to give their elevator pitch?
Well, I guess I might as well. I'm Grant Keating. I'm an attorney with Dworkin and Bernstein. Dworkin and Bernstein is the largest law firm in Lake County. We have about attorneys and about 70 employees. Our main office is on the square, right in downtown Painesville, right by the subway, which is directly below my office, so I can smell the bread baking all day long. And I also have an office down in Cleveland, down on West 9th, in the Western Reserve building. We offer all sorts of services: personal injury, workers' comp, domestic, criminal, bankruptcy, estate planning, and business law services, which I'll talk about later today. But I primarily practice in the commercial litigation area. So I represent businesses when either they need to sue another business or they're getting sued in court. Right now, I think the one thing that we're plenty busy, but one thing that we can always look for are people who have their own businesses that need a little bit of assistance with their customer agreements, to help tailor them so they're better suited going forward in business.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Thank you, Grant. And it's nice to
Thank
meet you.
you.
We're glad that you're here today.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to hearing more about the business law services.
All right.
Well, Richard, you want to go into the 4 E's? You're wonderful with the E's.
Okay, I can do that. But also, before I even do that, I just want to ask a question. We talk about your elevator pitch, your value proposition. Just have a question. What does Disney sell? What does Disney sell? Can anybody tell me that? What do you think it is that Disney sells? Because we're talking about your elevator pitch, your value proposition.
Disney sells fun, and Disney
Fun,
sells
that's a great
enjoyment.
enjoyment.
Disney sells movies.
Movies, okay. Good
That's a
answer.
good one.
Anybody else?
Family experiences.
Yes, that's it too. But I'm looking for something specifically.
Happiness.
Happiness. Happiness. Yes, they definitely sell happiness.
Entertainment.
Entertainment. Yep. Okay, one more response, and then we'll give the answer. Disney sells magic. That's what it is. Disney sells magic. So that's something like when you think about your value proposition, that's why we want to know what it is that makes you different from everybody else. What is your competitive advantage? You know, why should I want to do business with you? Tell me. That's why we do this. We want you to get comfortable, you know, pitching your business, letting people know what you have to offer. So, and then as far as the 4 E's, that's something that we have as one of our taglines with the Minority Business Assistance Center. And the 4 E's are, the first E is encouragement, because once we meet a client, we get an opportunity to find out their story, find out how they got on this journey of entrepreneurship. And it's just nice because everybody has a different story. Everybody has a backstory and things like that. And so once we find out, you know, about that, you know, the first E is engage, rather. When we engage you and we find out about you. So, and it's just a joy for us to be able to find out. So the first E is engage. And then after we engage you, the next E is encourage. Because many times we find some of our businesses, you know, especially after the pandemic, they went through some challenges that they've had to navigate. So we get the opportunity to encourage you, like, well, that's great. I'm happy that you were able to navigate those challenges and things are, you know, moving in a different direction, or maybe you had to pivot and you were able to successfully pivot your business. So then we can encourage you. And so then after we encourage you, the next E is educate, because we have so many different services available for our business owners that, you know, once they find out that we have all these services and many of these services are free, well, most of them are free. They're like, wow, we didn't know all this stuff was available to us. And we're talking about all the different services, and Andrea's going to go through that, you know, in her section. But then, you know, the education is so important. So once you get the education, the 4th E is empowerment. Now you're empowered to take your business to the next level, to be able to grow and scale your business. So those are our 4 E's. We engage, we encourage, we educate, and we empower. And then I'm going to add a next E. Once we've done all that, the next E is up to you. I'm going to add one, and that's you have to execute. So you've gotten all the tools, you got everything that you need, but without execution, I mean, it's just like having a car and not putting having the car with the key in the ignition, and you're not doing anything. You still got to turn the ignition. You still got to, you know, execute.
That's fantastic. Richard, you done added an E. That is fantastic. What can we say about this guy? I tell you, he actually came up with those 4 E's. Our Professor Brown came up with those, and I think they are fantastic because they actually describe what we do to a T. So I love when he tells on workshops, when he tells clients about those. But what we also want to speak about today is just financial literacy and understanding your business in and out. I know there will be accountants on this call, I believe, right, Pam? Yes, that will go over some of the financial documents that you will need.
We're hoping that Zappatelli's financial services will be jumping on.
Okay.
It was going to be Susan Chavez, so I've been emailing them back and forth this morning. So
Okay,
what we're hoping
perfect.
for, but they're a 3-office financial service. They have one in Concord, one in East Menor, and one in West Menor. So they're a great firm. They do a lot of business in Lake County, and they're very community give back too. So great people.
Perfect. Thank you, Pam. Yes, we do want to speak about the financial literacy because it's very important to understand where your business is financially and to understand those key financial statements that may hold you back or hinder you from going forward with loans and things like that, or just anything that has to do with your business. You need to know where you are financially. If you want to scale and you want to grow, all that depends on your finances and if you're able to do that at that time. So you definitely want to make sure you have accountants, a good accountant, or if you are doing your books, you just want to make sure that you have a good tool, a good system in place where you are actively looking at that and organizing yourself to be able to handle your business properly. Making sure you have your balance sheets, making sure you have your cash flow statements, making sure you have your profit and loss or income statements, that you could properly look at those, look at your numbers and know exactly where you stand. Being able to know your numbers is one thing, and being able to fully understand where your business is a totally different ballgame. So we did just want to touch on that briefly. Richard, you want to add anything to that?
Yes, well, thank you, Andre. And also, when you become certified, those statements are critical. They're required. They're not only critical, they're required with your certification with the state of Ohio and many other certifications. They're going to ask you for your balance sheet. They're going to ask you for your income statement. They're going to ask you for your cash flow statement. And so you have to familiarize yourselves with those documents or have an accountant, professional, to make sure that you have those documents and that those documents are accurate and they make sense. And not only that, it's going to help you to be a better business owner, because now you're going to know your own financial position. We find a lot of times when clients do this and go through this process, they're like, okay, I didn't really understand my business financial position, the solvency of my business, what have you, my financial strength, or areas I need to improve, where I see that I'm leaking money or things like that. So it's important to know your financial statements. It's a requirement of doing business. And if you're going to be in business, then you need to make sure that you have those financial statements and have them in order. So, and make sure, in a lot of cases, make sure you're following generally accepted accounting practices, principles, or GAAP as they call it. So you want to make sure. And if you don't know, then you need to outsource that. You need to delegate and find someone to assist you with that. Don't just try to do it yourself. I mean, many times we find a lot of our small business owners, they try to do everything themselves and they run into issues when they do that.
Exactly. Perfectly stated. So at this time, I'm going to kick it over to our wonderful, wonderful, newly put in place director of the Minority Business Assistance Center, our director, Shoshana Duckworth, to say a few words to kick us off.
Well, thank you, Andrea. Thank you, Richard. So I am Shoshana Duckworth, Director of the Minority Business Assistance Center. As Andrea said, I am new to this position as of this week. Prior to this, I was the Director of the Small Business Development Center. I'm excited to be here. I want to thank our partners in Lake County. Grant, thank you. Pam, thank you for everything, Jill. I really want to thank you for putting this together, partnering with us, and making sure that we're able to deliver this important information to these entrepreneurs. To the entrepreneurs on this webinar, I want to congratulate you in taking that next step and learning additional best practices about your business. Andrea and Richard both made some really good points. They mentioned what I call your bail team. No business should function without a bail team. When you first start your business, while you're growing your business, it's important for you to have that banker, that accountant, that insurance representation, and then also that legal representation. No business should follow it. And knowing your numbers. It's important to know your numbers. If your numbers are in the black, it's important to be able to explain how they got there and how you're going to keep them there. If your numbers are in the red, why are they there? How did they get there? What are you going to do to get them out of there? And that's what we do also, working with our business advisors at the Minority Business Assistance Center and the entire Entrepreneurship Center at Urban League. We work with you to not understand your numbers, but understand your business, understand your growth, and make sure that there's a proper strategy in place to continue that process. So with that being said, welcome. I thank you all for being here, and I'm going to go ahead and give it over to our program coordinator, April, who is the glue to our team.
Thank you, Shoshana. Yes, good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for being here. I'm the Program and Marketing Coordinator here at the Minority Business Assistance Center. My name is April Needham, and I just wanted to go over a few housekeeping tips before we get started. And then I'm going to turn it over to our business advisor, Richard Brown, because he has some exciting information that he would like to go over with all of you. But if you could please make sure that your microphones are on mute during the course of our presentation. When someone else is talking, that would be greatly appreciated. And if you have a question during our presentation, please raise your hand or use the chat box option, which we have on the right-hand side. And if you don't know how to access that, you click on more at the bottom and you click on chat, and the chat box will open up. And please use that option to put your business information in there, the name of your business, how to get in contact with you, because we want to make sure that we use this as a resource for you to create synergies and for you to make contacts with other entrepreneurs on the call. So with that being said, does anyone have any questions? Awesome. I'm going to turn it over to Richard for the exciting news.
Thank you so much, April. Yes, we do have exciting news for our participants today. We're going to have 2 gift bag giveaways at the end. Pam, you want to show us what they look like? All right, we have some good stuff for you here. Oh yeah, look at that. So somebody is going to be able to win one of those gift bag giveaways, one of those gift baskets. So you got to stay to the end though. The key, you have to stay to the end. So if you jump off before the end, you forfeit your chance to win. So there's some good stuff. There's some PC Painesville. Pam can tell you more about it than I can.
Thanks. So we have PCIC bucks, which is $50. Basically, it's cash. You can spend that in more than 40 locations in the city of Painesville, which is Lake County's county seat. And then Painesville City donated us a notebook so you can write down all of your wishes, your wants, your dreams. And then we have scratch off lottery tickets. So when you win, you can say, invest it in my company, or you can retire, one or the other, depending on how big you are, how big you win. But this is home 44077. This is made by a local pottery place. And this is great because when you drink it, there's no drips that run down the coffee cup. It's just amazing. I love this lady. She's a great pottery producer. So there you are. And it's we've got 50, it's about $75 worth, and we have this times 2. So thank you.
Fantastic.
I did my Vanna White.
Yes,
Thank you.
did.
Thank
you, Pam.
Yes,
So
thank you.
now,
And Susanna's on there from Zappatelli. I see her. She's on there too from Zappatelli Financial.
And Pam, can you please share in the chat box the pottery company that provided you with that cup too?
Absolutely.
okay, so for the instructions for this giveaway, now you're going to have to pay attention throughout the webinar. That's the first thing. And we're going to have 2 questions for you at the end. So the first 2 people to answer those questions correctly will be the winners. So you got to pay attention, you got to engage, and you got to wait to the end, because we're going to ask these questions, 2 questions. 2 questions, that's it. You answer the questions correctly, you win. All right, at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Andrea Boyd.
Perfect. Thank you, Richard. So much to do today. So much information, great information that will be shared today. So my name is Andrea Boyd. I want to welcome you this morning to our Certification Lab Part 2 with Lake County. And I am a business advisor with the Minority Business Center of Greater Cleveland, Urban League of Greater Cleveland. I am joined this morning by my colleague, business advisor, Richard Brown, our program coordinator, April Needham, and our director, Shoshana Duckworth. And at this Part 2 Certification Lab, our presenters will discuss some business best practices with you. In the state of Ohio, will provide an overview that includes introductory steps and tips to ensure you go through the certification process successfully. So what do we do here at MBAC? What are we? So MBAC identifies emerging minority-owned businesses, and we cultivate your growth and sustainability. So our overarching goal is to help minority and disadvantaged businesses contribute to job creation in Ohio. And how do we do this? We do this in 4 key areas of growth that we call our 4 pillars. The first being certifications. So we can help you, we can assist you in getting certified with the state of Ohio. We want to ensure that your business has the necessary certifications to bid on private as well as public contract opportunities. The second pillar, which is contracts and procurement opportunities. So our job is to connect you with different contract opportunities to grow and scale your business. So we have resources and we have connections with different organizations such as Metro Health, Case Western Reserve University, Cleveland Clinic, and PTAC, the Procurement Technical Assistance Center, that we actually work very closely with to get you registered with their SAM system and get you the resources that you need. Our third pillar, which is access to capital through bondings and loans. So we have a number of lending partners as well that we work with to ensure that you have the needed capital to grow your business. We are all about growth and development. So we also have Miss Felicia Jackson on the call that she spoke earlier in regard to UBiz. This is a loan fund that we have through the Urban League of Greater Cleveland. And this loan fund is fantastic in that no one is turned away for this loan fund. We actually put you in two different categories. Either you are either loan ready or we work with you to get you loan ready. So you go into a permanent hold until you are actually ready to go through that process, which is fantastic because most people would just deny. We don't deny you. We actually work with you to get you those loan funds that you actually need to scale or grow your business. And then our last pillar, which is technical and professional assistance. So we are made up over years of banking and entrepreneurial experience. We want to support you as experienced business advisors and certification experts that we are. So we want to be your guiding hand to make sure that you have everything you need to be successful within your market or industry. We have accounting assistance, we have business plan development, we help you with capability statements, getting bonding from the state, and loans from the state of Ohio. If you are NP or EDGE certified, we do help you with that. So make sure you reach out to us. As Richard said earlier, many of our services and programs are completely free of charge. So additionally, at the Urban League of Greater Cleveland, we have a small business development center that focuses on startup businesses. They also focus on growth and development assistance and have different programs. So our entrepreneurship center offers Becoming Bankable Plus, which is a restaurant accelerator program, and Make Me Marketable. So combined, our entrepreneurship center has years of business and banking experience that can enhance your entrepreneurship journey. So please contact us today. I'm sure April will put our info in the chat box for you, for all those that would like to get in contact with us. So at this time, I'm going to hand it over to our program coordinator, April Needham.
Thank you, Andrea. Yes, so now that we are ready to get started, I would like to introduce our guest speakers for today. We have Grant Keating from Dworkin and Bernstein Law Offices, and he's going to talk a little bit about how to get contracts for your business. Thank you for being here.
It's my pleasure to be here. This presentation is really like a basic rundown on contracts in general. And I think it's helpful to sort of get back to the basics. And just so you know, we're going to try to do it in 10 minutes. And every lawyer in this country does a full semester on this subject. So if you see my contracts professor, Juliet Kostritsky, don't tell her I tried to do her job in 10 minutes, because I don't think she'll be very happy. In any event, like I said, I practice as a business litigator. So although I think I'm personable and I'm fun to talk to, everybody hates to call me on the phone because when they call me, that means something went wrong. Someone didn't honor a contract, they're being sued, they need someone to jump in and help them right away. So one of the things that we're going to talk about, and what Richard and Andrea and Shoshana have already talked about, is helping build your infrastructure, because that's really what this is about. Is a good contract is going to protect you and it's going to protect your business partners, because you don't want to call me. What you want to do is call my other partners in my office who are in the transactional department that can help walk you through either creating your own contracts for your customers, or walk you through your loan agreements, lease agreements, employment agreements, et cetera, et cetera. So I prepared a PowerPoint, and if I can figure out how to share the screen, I will bring it up here. Let's see. Okay. Great. Can you guys all see it?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, so right to the basics. What is the contract and how is it formed? So it's important, and I have it in here, the contract is written or spoken agreement as intended to be enforceable. I think it's important for everybody to know oral agreements are enforceable in Ohio. The phrase, your word is your bond, that's a real thing that goes all the way back to the Old Testament, and that's been carried out throughout our laws going forward. But if you take anything away from this presentation, you're going to make sure that when you're operating your business, all of your contracts are in writing, every single one of them. Because while oral contracts are enforceable, they're much harder to enforce. If you come to me and there's been a breach of that contract and I've got to go to court, it's much more difficult for you to come in and testify. This is what was said when the person on the other side of the contract says, no, that's not what it was said. And we have to rely on witnesses. If we have it in writing, we can just show the contract to the judge or jury. They can read it for themselves and we can prove it. So make sure your contracts are in writing. Now, there's two elements to how a contract is formed. One is the offer, which is a proposal for consideration. Hypothetical is, will you walk my dog for me? Okay, so that's the request for proposal. That's the quote. And then it's accepted. And the acceptance is back, yes, I will walk your dog. Or sending me an email, I'll walk your dog for $10. And then once that is accepted, either by a signature or in these days a click, is more likely on your keyboard, that contract is formed and it's enforceable. So what that means is before you sign a contract, you need to read it and you need to understand it, because when your signature goes on that document, courts are going to interpret that as if you assented to every single thing in that contract. So just be mindful of that. Make sure you're reading your contracts before you sign them, because there's all sorts of things in the fine print that can hurt you or help you depending on who drafted that contract. That's something that your lawyer can help you with. So if it's an important contract, make sure you present it to your lawyer and they can assist you with interpreting it and making sure that you understand exactly what you're signing. Another way that you can accept a contract is by performance. So under the hypothetical that I was giving, will you walk my dog? Instead of signing off, you could just walk my dog. And as soon as you walk the dog, you've accepted the contract you performed. I need to pay you the $10, or I think the rate's more like $20 now these days. So after there's been an offer and acceptance, there's what is called a meeting of the minds. Now, anytime I think of meeting of the minds, I go back to Star Trek and Spock, and he does the mind meld. And everybody is definitely on the same page because they're thinking as one. We're not in Star Trek. That doesn't make any sense in the real world. So what that means in layman's term is both parties who are in the contract understood the agreement. Now, it can't be subjective. Okay, you can't go into court and say, well, I didn't understand what I signed, because then no contract would be enforceable. So really what courts use is an objective test. And the way they do that is they look at the terms of the contract themselves. And if they're clear and unambiguous, if the court can understand exactly what the benefit of the bargain was in the deal, they're not going to look outside the four corners of the contract. So it makes it very simple. So when you write your contracts, you want them to be simple and easy to understand. Now, that's something that is very counterintuitive for lawyers. We try to make things very complicated. I don't know why, but we do. But try to make your contracts easy to understand. And if you don't understand a term in your contract, call your lawyer. Now, if the contract is ambiguous or difficult to understand, courts are going to look at documents that occurred outside of the contract. That's emails, that's the performance of the parties. All that's called parole evidence. You don't want courts to get outside the four corners of your contract. Keep them in the contract by using clear and unambiguous terms. Easy for me to say. These are the essential terms of the contract. Every contract is going to include these items. And without these items, there can't be a meeting of the minds. So it's just very simple. The parties to be bound, you and me walking my dog, the subject matter of the contract, the consideration. The consideration is just a legal term for the reason that we're doing this. Typically, it's a payment for services. But it's important that every contract needs to be supported by consideration. If there's no consideration, then the document or whatever occurs is considered to be a gift, and gifts are not enforceable. Contracts are enforceable. So there has to be consideration. The quantity term, you're going to walk my dog one time, we're going to do dog walking for a month, and then the price term, the $10. You know, there's other terms that don't need to be in the contract, but they should be in there. Things like delivery dates, performance dates. You're going to put this deck on my house and you're going to do it by September 1st. Or the person that your subcontractor who's going to do the framing on that deck addition is going to complete their work within 2 weeks of the contract. Get that in the contract to make sure that everybody is on the same page and there's a meeting of the minds. The types of contracts that every small business owner or business owner are going to enter into that I would absolutely recommend you seeking advice of counsel before you sign them are leases. Leases and any other contracts that are related to interest in land all have to be in writing. That's pursuant to a rule called the statute of frauds. So there's no handshake leases. Okay, if you want an enforceable lease, and it's important whether you're the landlord or tenant that that lease is enforceable, you need that to be in writing. There's two types of leases that you're going to see in commercial real estate. One is a gross lease, which is French for all gross, which means that you're going to be making one payment and it's going to be covering every single part of the lease, your utilities, taxes, everything is going to be in that one rental payment. And then there's triple net leases. Triple net leases, not only are you going to be paying rent, but you're going to be paying your portion of the property taxes and your portion of any of the common area charges if you're in a shopping center. So again, it's important to look out for those in your lease agreements. Gross leases tend to be more favorable for tenants. Triple net leases tend to be more favorable for the landlords. The other documents, your loan documents, that's your promissory notes, okay, which is your promise to pay back whatever money is loaned to you. And then typically notes are secured. So secured transactions are secured by either a mortgage, which is a secured interest in property that you own. So if you default on your note, your lender can go and they can sell off the collateral, which is your property, to get that note paid back. So you're going to want to take a look at the mortgage, make sure you understand what the property is that's securing your loan. And the other thing is mortgages and loans are secured by personal guarantees. I imagine if you haven't done so already, you're operating a business, you should have incorporated or organized either as a corporation or as a limited liability company. One of the big advantages to having a business entity instead of doing business in your name is it insulates you from personal liability. So in the instance that something goes wrong, they can't get to your personal assets. If you've gone to the expense of incorporating or organizing as a business entity, you can become personally guaranteed by signing this document. So be wary of that. It's a loophole where you thought you were protected, you didn't see it. It can come back to bite you. Purchase agreements, obviously with your vendors, also read the fine print. There's personal guarantees that are included in those oftentimes. And then your customer agreements. You know, contracts are not always drafted straight down the middle. In fact, they almost are never drafted straight down the middle. Whoever drafts them is going to draft them so they favor one side or the other. So for instance, when Richard was talking about Disney, if you go to one of their websites or buy one of their products, they have terms and conditions. And I bet you can imagine that those terms and conditions favor Disney, not you. All right. So you want to make sure that when you are drafting your customer agreements, you have terms in there that favor you. Things like choice of venue. If there's a lawsuit, they have to come to Cuyahoga County. They can't drag you to Los Angeles or Orlando to file the lawsuit there. Contract provisions for you to look for. Like I said, personal guarantees. Again, you want to make sure that you get the benefit of the organization liability, insulation from liability. Acceleration clauses, those are in your loan documents and your lease documents. If there's a default, the acceleration clause is going to make the full amount due immediately at default. So beware of those. Liquidated damages, that's a clause when there's a default and they're unsure of how to assess damages, the amount of money that you would have to pay or that someone would have to pay you. This makes a sum certain. So if it was a lease and there was a default, instead of having to prove that you lost all this money from your tenant not paying rent, you could just put in there that they owe you $25,000 or some sort of fixed term that's equivalent to the damages that you suffer. Indemnification provisions are very sneaky. They're usually in their own little paragraph. Basically, they say that you are going to indemnify another person. You'll pay for their legal expenses. You'll cover their exposure, and it shifts risk from one party to the other. So if those are in the agreement, you either want them to benefit you, or if you're going to sign it, you want to make sure you understand that indemnification provision, because it can really result in you incurring a much larger risk exposure than you originally anticipated. And security agreements, that's like the mortgage, UCC financing statements, where a lender or a landlord is going to take an interest in your property to secure a loan. The last slide here is just, I know a lot of you are in the contracting business. I just wanted to include this flow chart. It'll help you if you're going to seek public bids, and it sort of takes what I was talking about basically, where there's an offer and an acceptance, and just takes you through each step of that. So the offer is when you're at the top part of the chart, obtaining bid information, decision to bid, obtain bid documents, and review bid documents. That's all the offer from the government entity or whoever is putting out the request for proposal. That section that's in the middle, where you're talking about doing a site investigation and takeoff quantities and pricing your work and talking to your subcontractors, that's really the due diligence portion of the contract, where you're taking a look and seeing what is this going to cost for me to perform this contract. And then the last part is when you're communicating your acceptance. I will walk your dog for $10. You submit your bid. The bid report gets submitted to the governmental authority. They review those bids typically in blind fashion, so they don't know who's submitting them, and then they will accept them, and then the project will be awarded. So I think I went 14 minutes, but I think we got it mostly in there. And if you have any questions, I would be more than happy to take them.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much. Does anyone have any questions?
Grant, real quick, when folks are going to go seek, oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Pam.
When folks are going to seek a lease, do you recommend that they do it solo, or do you recommend they do it with a professional, for example, a realtor, a commercial realtor with them to help them navigate that?
Well, it really depends on what you need. And it depends on how big of an investment this is going to be. I always think an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, and a broker is going to be able to understand your needs, A reputable broker will be able to understand your needs, find the space that works for you. And also they have the expertise of advising and helping you negotiate some of those lease terms. What you don't want to do is you don't want to lease too much space. You don't want to lease too little space. So I would recommend going out. It doesn't cost you anything to talk to a broker. And often when you talk to a broker, any commission that the real estate broker is going to be paid by the person who's leasing out the properties, not the tenant. So don't be afraid to do that. It's a good question, Pam.
Thank you.
Thank you. I do have a quick question. Now, okay, excuse me for how I'm about to say this, because I tend to forget what the name of this is. Okay, there's ways that you can contract an idea, like you're trying to secure your idea. Do you do that type of law?
Yeah, so
Or contracting.
So yeah, no, Andrew, that's fine. I think you're generally asking about intellectual property law. That was the term? Yeah. Yeah, so
Yes, thank you. I couldn't think of what it was called. Okay.
So typically that deals with trademark, copyright, and the such. And yes, and patents. We do that work at a basic level. When it's outside of our area of expertise, we refer that out to other attorneys that we partner with. But yeah, one of the bigger things about when you're sharing your ideas, and this comes up all the time when people ask about it, is you don't want people to steal your great idea. So the typical way that you prevent that from happening is entering into what is called a non-disclosure agreement. And essentially, before you share that $1 million idea, everybody who's going to receive that information signs off on an agreement that dictates what information is confidential, what that confidential information can be used for, and then at the end of your business relationship, how that confidential information is treated. Now, more often than not, it's the execution that's worth the money. There's plenty of great ideas, there's not a lot of execution. So you don't necessarily always need to incur the expense of getting a non-disclosure before you share ideas with your partners. But that's one of those things, if you have a relationship with your attorney, you pick up the phone, you say, Grant, I got this idea. I want to talk to this person. I want to make sure I'm protected. I say, no problem. Bang, we'll put together a non-disclosure agreement. Take me a half an hour to do. I have the form. You'll have that. You'll be protected. And that's much better spending the $100, $150 to do that than for someone to steal your idea and then you have to sue them later on. And that's when people call me and then I'm telling them I need a $20,000 retainer to move forward with the litigation. Good question, Andrea.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Grant.
So one of the things that I think that this 3-part series is to help folks be prepared. And sometimes I know that people don't want to spend the money to have that person or that business assist them. And then like Grant just said, oh, now you're in a lawsuit. So now I need a $10,000, $20,000 retainer. So Grant, can you just tell us, sometimes there's an attorney of record. Would Dworkin and Bernstein ever be an attorney of record for a business, or can you tell us anything about that?
So I don't know about the specific term attorney of record, but we, when Richard was saying Disney sells magic, we sell explanations and confidence. When you talk to us, you have a relationship with us, we're going to explain things so you're confident, you understand your risk exposure, and not necessarily an attorney of record, but inside your contracts, there's typically not typically, but in some contracts, there's a provision for notices. So if for something that goes wrong, the notice wouldn't just go to you. There would also be a notice section for your attorney to be copied on. So I don't know if it's.
I guess it's the importance of building the relationship. That's kind of what I was trying to ask for versus an attorney of record. I use that because of when we do in the moving industry, we have to have a we have to have an agent of record to deliver all throughout the United States, any legal notices. So it would be good then for business owners to build a relationship with your firm, for example, so they have someone that is their go-to person.
Yeah, you need a relationship with an accountant and an attorney. If you're going to be serious about this, you're going to need that because things are going to come up. There's no way around it. And you can really, really avoid a lot of trouble if you pick up the phone quickly before you get into something, a binding enforceable contract. Because after the fact, it's really hard to get the toothpaste back into the tube.
One of our previous members mentioned that a firm put in a bid and they got the bid. It was a cleaning bid and it was binding and enforceable. But then once they started doing business, they realized they were losing money. So they didn't have any attorney, anybody preview anything, nor did they have an accountant look at it. But in the end, they had to go to an attorney to get out of the contract, to rebid the contract to make money. So Grant, everything you brought up has been very great, valid points. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me. It's a great group. You guys seem like you're having some fun and learning. So very happy to be here today.
Yes, thank you, Grant. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Grant.
Yes, thank you, Grant.
My
Great
pleasure.
information. I feel like I'm back in college, business law all over again. So.
Yes, definitely. I love
Well,
Grant though. I'll be calling him.
Yes, we will be calling you, Grant.
I love
And
his energy.
Yes, and the thing about it is, Grant, you really gave us some good information. It's like you need to read every document. Don't be in too big of a hurry, you know. And if you're not sure about something, don't sign that contract without consulting an attorney. I mean, that's the cost of doing business. So if you're going to be in business, you're going to be serious about business, you need to do these things. You know, just like Pam said, to save yourself some headache and heartache down the road. So.
Fantastic information.
Great. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And we will share the contact information of all of our presenters today to all of you. So you will be able to have Grant's contact information to get in touch with him. We are going to move on to our next presenter for today. We have Susanna Chavez. I apologize if I pronounced her name wrong. She's from Zappatelli Financial Services.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Like she said, I'm Susanna and I work for Zappatelli. Sitting right next to me is my coworker, Daisy Cisneros. She also works for Zappatelli, and we're going to be talking about what we do here at Zappatelli Financial Services.
Okay, so pretty much what we wanted to talk to you guys a little bit more about was like what's our job and how we work with like Latinos within like Lake County and how we help them with their businesses. So we work with many Latino businesses owners in Northeast Ohio. Primarily, we work with a lot of like landscaping, grocery stores, and restaurants. And so what we do is that we help them from registering their business, keeping up with their bookkeeping. We help them with payroll, taxes such as like sales tax, their year-end taxes. We also help them with like CAT tax. We also been helping them a lot during like the COVID time. We've been helping them with like loans, like applying for loans for like PPP loans. We also help them with like I-10 applications. So primarily, with this, we've seen like tremendous growth within our client base. Initially, not a lot of Latino businesses had accountants before, just because they did not believe it was necessary or were uninformed about the requirements of running a business. So having Latino accountants like us has helped them become more educated as well. I feel like we've created definitely like a big trustworthy and professional relationship with the Latino community here in Northeast Ohio, because now they feel more comfortable coming to us for any questions. Like as well, they're spreading the word about us. We get clients from even from like Akron, we get clients from all over, from like Hudson as well. We have clients from all over Ohio as well, like Toledo. So I feel like definitely we're getting that trustworthy relationship with our Latinos here in Lake County. Also, some examples of like how we build this relationship with them is that we have a lot of clients that show up with, like, for example, with an EIN. A lot of them don't even know what an EIN is or how they can use it for. They think that just by having like an EIN is just like registering a business here in Ohio. But when they come to us, we actually explain to them that they have to be registered with the state of Ohio. And for example, if they live in Painesville, they have to have um, as well, like, they have to be registered with like RETA, for example, with like their local um, government as well. And then so we tell them, we give them a little bit more insight as well of like the importance of having an accountant to register their business. Because normally a lot of the people who don't really know about us, they'll just go to like a family friend, or they'll just go to a neighbor that knows how to that knows how to apply for like an EIN. But in reality, they're not sure as to like how to work or how a business runs within, like, for example, paying like their taxes and stuff. And then, so when a new client comes to us for professional advice on how they can register their business, we make the whole process easy as possible. So we'll go over them from the different options they have of registering a business, to help them choose which type of business is right for them. For example, like the different types, like an LLC, an S corp, um, and as well, the main point thing is that we do not allow language to become a barrier for them, since we provide translating. So a lot of them will come in and they're like, well, they need a translator. So the good thing is that we provide here, we have two Spanish speaking translators here at Zapatelli. So I feel like that's a big advantage as well.
Ladies, can you tell the difference to us between bookkeeping and accounting, so that way people know the difference? Because a lot of people group them into the same thing, but actually there's quite a difference. And so can you two ladies explain that to us, please?
Yeah, so like pretty much when we explain like bookkeeping for our clients, is we tell them like pretty much like their sales and their expenses. We tell them, we pretty much explain to them about like having a good record of their sales, um, making sure that they're reporting everything, all their income and stuff. And then also we explain to them a lot about the expenses that they have, like a lot of expenses that they may or may not take. Um, and then also for accounting, we explained to them a little bit more about like taxes, like the end of the year stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna go a little bit over that. She was gonna pass it on to me. So I'm gonna talk about initially when they come and register their business. We also help them save money in regards to helping them choose the right business, because a lot of them don't know that there's different types of businesses, like she said, an LLC, an S corp. So that way we go over those things. We try to make it as easy for them to understand as possible, and try to explain the tax consequences and the differences between them, because we've had a lot of small businesses start as an LLC, but then they're doing their taxes. They have like a Schedule C, they have to pay self-employment tax, and at the end of a few years, their business grows tremendously, and we realize that an LLC is not the best anymore for them. So then when they have to transfer, we transfer them to an S corp to try to get them to save some taxes. So that's a little bit of what we do to help them. We try to explain that because it's harder for them to transfer once they're started. So we like to explain that, so that way if they want to start off as an S corp and then later on they don't have to transfer and spend more money, or just having to go through the hassle of changing everything. We also educate them, like we said, about the accounting side, and making sure they keep up with their bookkeeping, because a lot of them don't think that bookkeeping is necessary. They'll just come in at the end of the year and they'll say, why, I had a business, I made so much and I spent this much. But they don't understand that for us, it's hard for us to do their taxes that way, because the IRS makes us have a breakdown of all their expenses and all their assets. And we have to explain the difference between an asset and an expense. So that's something that they learn as well. And we also make sure that they keep a good cash flow. We try to explain that in order for them to apply for loans, because sometimes it's hard for them. They're not used to having to do taxes or reporting their taxes. So a lot of times they'll won't like report all their sales, and we make sure that we educate them that they have to report all their sales. And it's beneficial for them to do that because it helps them apply for loans. And if they want to sell their business down the line, their business is worth a lot more, versus if they show a loss every year in their taxes, that's not going to be beneficial for them if they try to sell their business down the road.
So when's the best time to start setting up your business? So would you start immediately? If you have a business idea and you found a place to rent, would you immediately go to an accounting firm or bookkeeping firm to start out right out the gate? Or do you run your business for 3 months and then start? Or do you run it for a year? Because you mentioned earlier, oh, in a year they come. But when do you think that you should tell the person to come to a bookkeeping and accounting firm?
We advise them that as soon as they start doing business, that they register right away. Because even if they don't do, if they're not having sales or they're not making money, they can still, they can report zeros on their tax return. That's not a big deal. And it's better to have it registered. We feel it's better to have it registered from the beginning, just so that they keep track of everything. And like I said, if they want to apply for a loan, like a lot of, during COVID, we saw a lot of people come in and they're like, we want to apply for a PPP loan. And they just started off their business, but they never registered it. So it's really hard for them to get a PPP loan because they didn't have their business registered. So we always advise that they start right away.
How much time does that take if they interact with your firm to get registered? Does it take a day, a week, a month?
It takes like 3 days. We can do the registration. The EIN we can get the same day. What takes the longest is the registration with the state of Ohio. We register them with the state of Ohio, and it takes like about a week for them to get their certificate back. But that's what takes the longest.
So then there's multiple levels of doing registration. So you've got the federal government and then you've got the state of Ohio.
Correct.
Okay.
So we register them with the federal, that's the EIN, it's the employer identification number that we get. We register them with the state, whether they're they choose to be an LLC, sole proprietorship, or a corporation. We have to register with the state of Ohio. That's what takes a week. That's what takes the longest. And then depending on where they're at, which city they're at, we'll register them with the city. And it's just a form that we fill out and just send it in with the city.
Great. So the city is another way that you have to register. I know in Painesville City as a contractor, you have to be registered in order to do business there. So that's a really good point. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anybody else have any other questions?
I have a question. You brought up a really good point. Something that we always run into is, when do I start an S Corp? Do I need to switch over to an S Corp? When is it beneficial? When is it going to hurt me? You mentioned that sometimes it could be better to start off as an S Corp prior to growing that revenue. Can you give us a little bit of background on some criteria or some things to look for if you're starting a business, or if you're looking at growing your business? When should you switch over to an S Corp? Or when should you start it?
How we decide, how we determine and how we explain it to them is, It depends a lot in the industry. Like since we work a lot with landscapers, we have contractors, things like that. We've seen which industries are faster to grow, especially contractors when they do construction. Those type of businesses grow really fast and they have higher revenue. So we always advise them that they start an S corp, especially if they want to start to put the owner wants to be on payroll. Because in an LLC, it's more difficult for the owner to be on payroll. So that's a little bit of how we help determine. And also, if they're already an LLC and they want to switch over, the way that we determine that is we do a projection. So like halfway down the year, we will take their books, so their sales and their expenses, and we'll put it in their tax return to see what it looks like at that point in time. And if we see that they have a huge revenue, that they've grown from one year to another, they doubled their sales, we automatically ask them that they switch over. Usually when we see an LLC that has a Schedule C that's over $200,000 in gross revenue, we automatically advise them to switch over to an S corp.
Okay, thanks. That's what I was looking for. So you're looking at about a couple of $100,000, and that's when you should start considering it.
Correct.
Awesome. Thanks. That was some great information.
For sure.
Ladies from Zappatelli, which office are you ladies in?
We're in the one right next to the Mexican restaurant, Compadres. Do you guys know
So
what the plaza
you're on
is?
the Menor Avenue. Do you know,
Avenue.
is your address in the chat so folks can find it?
I can write it down right now.
That would be great.
It's 1896 Menor Avenue in Painesville, Ohio.
Do folks have to schedule an appointment to get to see you, or do they just walk in?
No, they don't need an appointment. They can just walk in and they can come and ask questions. Don't have to necessarily contract us if they don't want to. They can just come in and ask any questions that they'd like.
Great. So you can help them set up a chart of accounts in the bookkeeping end of it, and then you can go all the way up to the tax services as well, which would be, you know, putting the quarterlies in, doing the annual and all of that good stuff, correct?
That's correct.
Perfect. Thank you.
Susanna, this is Richard. We would like to connect with you because we can also offer certification to these clients to help them grow and scale their business that way as well. So we definitely need to connect. I mean, because I'm sure that would be a benefit to the business as well that you work with.
Richard, I can make the connection with the Zappatellis and then with the ladies there at the Menor Avenue, and we can connect. That's a great idea.
Thank you.
Yes, definitely.
Awesome. Thank you so much, ladies, for being here with us today. We really appreciate it.
Well, thank you
Thank
for
you.
the invitation.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. We will be in touch.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, everyone, we are going to move on to our next presenter. His name is Michael Lester. He's from the state of Ohio, and he's going to be talking about all the different certifications that the state of Ohio offers.
Good morning, everybody.
Here you are.
Morning. Tell me when I get my camera going. As everybody said, my name is Michael Lester. I work with the state of Ohio's Equal Opportunity Division. We work actually, I'm an EO contract officer. So my duties entail processing all applications that come through for our MBE certification, EDGE, VB, and WB certification. Me and about 6 other officers process all the applications that come through for the state, and we handle those. So I'll go over our certifications, how to apply for the certifications, just general information about the programs and how they can be beneficial to people who are in the programs and want to apply for them. So I'm going to share my screen. This PowerPoint. We good there? Everybody can see that? Perfect. Give me 1 second. All right. Let me move this bar as well. Okay. As I mentioned, the programs we have here are listed: our Minority Business Enterprise, the MBE, our Encouraging Diversity, Growth, and Equity, which is the EDGE program, our Veteran Family Business Enterprise, which is the VBE, and our Women-Owned Business Enterprise, which is WBE. The first program we're going to go over is our MBE program. No, I'm sorry. Let me go back. All right, sorry about that. And so first program we're gonna go over is our MBE program. Our MBE program is probably our most high profile program. And the MBE program establishes a 15% set aside goal for state agencies, boards, and commissions. And set aside means that those contracts and purchases have to be solicited and awarded in the shelter market. And what that means is that only MBE certified businesses are allowed to be a part of that solicitation pool. So you are not competing against Ohio Health, Hondas, or any larger businesses in the state of Ohio. You're just competing against peers of yourself. The MBE program is an ethnicity or race-based certification program. Also, it is for goods and services only. Mind you, goods and services can include IT and professional services. However, something to note, it does not include is construction. That's not to say that construction companies do not or cannot get certified, but how they utilize the certification is a little different. And we'll talk about that later. So as I mentioned, each agency, board, and commission has this 15% requirement, and our office does monitor their expenditures and work with agencies towards meeting that requirement. So put 15% into perspective of dollars, the state spent $298.8 million with 314 MBE certified businesses last year, or 21.5% of that 1.39 billion eligible budget. Imagine what a fraction of those dollars could do to help grow and develop your business. So we're talking about opportunities that are available for you today. Our third program is called Encouraging Diversity, Growth, and Equity, or EDGE. EDGE is designed to be ethnicity and gender neutral and is to assist socially and economically disadvantaged businesses in getting state contracted. Here's some differences to note between the MBE and EDGE. As I mentioned, this is for socially and economically disadvantaged businesses, and we'll clearly define what the socially disadvantaged is in a moment, but it's not either or. You do have to be both socially and economically disadvantaged. Also, this program is for agencies, boards, and commissions and state universities. The goal for EDGE gets set each year by the director of DAS. Traditionally, it has been 5%. While the goal percentage itself is smaller than the MBE, it's a smaller percentage of a much larger pie. EDGE applies to more than just goods and services. EDGE applies to all procurement categories: construction, architecture and engineering, professional services, goods and services, and information and technology services. And when you add that construction budget into all of that, it's a lot of money you're talking about. Another key difference about EDGE you might have heard previously is about a time limit for the program. That has been removed with new updates that have happened to the Ohio Administrative Code. What has not changed, however, is that it is for small businesses. With the new Ohio administrative changes, we have more closely mirrored those of the small business definitions of the U.S. Small Business Administration, or SBA. So while there is no longer a time limit for being in the program, there is still a size standard, both for the owners and the business. And if either of those thresholds are exceeded, you would be considered to graduate from the program because you no longer need the benefits of the program. And we'll kind of talk about those standards a little later as well. Similar to the MBE, our office does monitor and work with agencies towards meeting the goal. But again, let's put it into perspective of 5% means. In fiscal year 2020, out of a total $4.83 billion in eligible budget, 7.2% was spent in either agency or direct subcontracting spending. So in dollars, the state spent $348 million with 378 EDGE certified businesses last year. And the last program I'm going to bring up is, or the next one is our VBE program. This certification program is strictly for veteran-friendly business enterprises. And as the name suggests, the program was designated for strictly veteran businesses. The program is for all procurement categories. VB is different from some government preferences programs in that it does not have a specific spending goal or target established to spend towards. Rather, the program establishes an overall preference to spend with VB certified businesses, and here's how it's applied. When responding to an invitation to bid or ITB, a VB certified business can quote up to 5% more than a non-certified competitor and still be eligible to win that award. Or on a request for proposal or RFP, scores on proposals submitted by a VB certified business can be up to 5% lower than proposal scores submitted by a non-certified competitor and still be eligible for winning that award. And then for your information, I provided 2 points of contact that are very helpful for being involved in the VBE program. So if you're looking for further information or contracts available for VBE certified businesses, these 2 point of contacts, Wayne McCarty and David Walker, are both good points of contact for you. And lastly, we're going to speak on the WBE. The Women-Owned Business Enterprise went into effect on October 9th, 2020. And this is the first time that the state of Ohio has had a certification program specifically for women entrepreneurs. The first key difference with this program is that currently the program does not have any established procurement goals or targets for state agencies to spend towards. It also does not have an applied preference, as we discussed previously, for VBE. However, what it does have is a reciprocity component. While still in development, the program allows the state of Ohio to enter into reciprocity agreements with other states who have similar WBE programs. Once agreements are finalized, this will allow Ohio WBE to take their certificate to another state and apply for certification in that state, and then compete in that state as a certified WBE on their WBE set-aside contracts. This component will hopefully broaden the opportunity and landscape for women-owned businesses to grow. And while there aren't any finalized agreements in place just yet, we're very close to some. So please keep an eye out on our website at wbe.ohio.gov and work with your MBACs to learn more about our progress with the certification. We talked about the what, but the biggest question we normally get is why. Why should I get certified, or what's in it for me? We already touched on one of the biggest reasons, opportunity. These certification programs provide access to certain state procurement opportunities that otherwise your business may not have access to, specifically, in the case of MBE. Additionally, we list all certified businesses in a database that not only agencies use, but a lot of universities, prime contractors, private contractors, et cetera. Often when someone has a need to locate a minority company, they search our database for a business. There's also financial benefits of being certified, especially in the MBE program. The Ohio Development Service Agency, or DSA, have several loan bond programs specifically designed for certified businesses. Your local MBAC, who is sponsored by DSA, has information about those programs and can help you determine which programs best meet your needs and how to apply. A couple other things to consider is that certification is not limited to just state procurement. That is what the programs are designed for, but especially in today's social climate, so many corporations and agencies, both public and private, have realized having a strong, diverse supplier base is good for business and the community. So while certification does provide you access to certain state government opportunities, it also can be viewed as a great marketing tool. And lastly, you're considering outside businesses, also consider other certified businesses, your certified peers. What is it that you provide that perhaps another certified business has a need for, or vice versa? Expanding how you look at certification, even outside of state procurement, can also expand your customer base as well. And now let's talk about who is eligible and who can be eligible for certification. Okay, switching to the MBE, EDGE, and WBE programs, these are core requirements for all programs. You must be a full-time Ohio resident, with the exception of those who apply from one of the approved reciprocity states. Again, we are working on those for the WBE program. So for now, everyone who's in our certification programs must be an Ohio resident. You must also be for-profit and in business at least 1 year. And we do truly mean in business, not just registered with the Secretary of State's office. We do understand that you might not have generated revenue yet, but you must be able to document how you have been in business And again, this is where your MBAC is a great resource to help document that. You must also possess requisite knowledge of the business and industry and day-to-day control, demonstrating capability and expertise. This is another key component for us. We're not looking to certify businesses who have minority or women as owners on paper, but in actuality do not control the business. This defeats the purpose of the program, so you would need to demonstrate how you both own and control the business. Specifically for MBE, as I said, it is an ethnicity or race-based certification program. So you do need to be either African-American, American Indian, Asian, or Latino. If you do not fall within one of those groups, you will not meet the program criteria. And for EDGE, the program is for socially and economically disadvantaged businesses. Socially disadvantaged can be used because of someone's ethnicity, female gender, chronic physical or mental disability, a business owner's long-term residence in an environment isolated from mainstream America, or a hub zone. A hub zone is an area defined by the SBA through a census tract. Generally speaking, these areas are of low income and or high unemployment. You will find both metropolitan areas as well as Appalachia are hub zones. There's a link on our website where you can enter the address to determine if your address is in a hub zone. And something to note, if you're applying for a certification based on your business being in the hub zone, 35% of the employees must also reside in a hub zone. They don't have to be in the same hub zone that your business is located in, but they must also reside in a hub zone as well. Economic disadvantage is based primarily on a person's net worth. Following the SBA guidelines, we do exclude primary residents if not owned outright in any interest in the business. Upon entry and during the duration of certification, a person's net worth cannot exceed $750,000. However, as mentioned, we also use the SBA side standards, and those are based on NAICS codes and could be based on either your gross receipts and or number of employees the business held. And lastly, a fair market value of all assets must be less than 4 million. 6 million. Okay, and then with VBE, please note that only one of these criteria needs to be met. Obviously, as the program is for veterans, if the business is owned by a veteran or someone on active service, that person could qualify. If 51% of the board of directors are veterans or on active service, if the business has already received certification by the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs as a service disabled veteran-owned small business or a veteran-owned small business, and owners meet the definition of veteran, we recognize that certification. Lastly, if 10% of your business employees are veterans or in active service, it could qualify. This last one is nice in a way that the program not only helps veteran business owners, but it also helps veterans find or maintain employment. And I mention this because if you're in business and you plan on looking to hiring a workforce in the next 2 years, keep this program in mind. If you hire veterans, it helps veterans find jobs, but it can also benefit your business by making you eligible for this program as well. And for the WBE, businesses must be owned and controlled by a woman. Again, a full-time resident with the exception of those who are applying from the reciprocity states that we're currently working on. So as I mentioned, until those are done, everyone who applies for the certification must be a state of Ohio resident. All right, we talked about what the programs are, why you should consider for applying, and who qualifies for each. And everyone's excited to know how we could get started. So before you start with an actual application, please start with looking over or going to the supporting document checklist. This task will likely take you the longest. Yes, there are a lot of items on the list. However, each item is designed to verify core requirements, specifically citizenship, residency, ethnicity, race, or social and economically disadvantaged, as well as ownership and control. Your local MBAC is available to help you with gathering these documents, identifying what you may be missing, and documenting those gaps. They're a great resource in your own backyard and they're free. Often what slows down the application process is when the business either doesn't send documents, or the business and the applicant or the person processing the application have to go back and forth multiple times about documents that are missing or incomplete documents. So working with your MBAC about this documentation process will be really helpful in streamlining the process and cutting down some of that processing time as well. Okay, and there are 3 certification options that a company can choose from based on its needs. There's a standard, fast track, and cross certification or expedited. The 2 mainly used are the standard and fast track processes. So application and supporting document submission. EOD reviews the application and supporting documentation for completeness, and it begins the audit process. We're looking to validate application information. Does what you put on the application match the documents received? Yet another reason to compile documents before filling out the application, because if you use those documents to fill out the form, the data matches up automatically. We're also looking to verify ownership and control. Remember, that is the key component to certification. We completed the interview and request any additional documents that may be needed. We then analyze the documentation and the information gathered during the interview, and the officer recommends either approval or disapproval. That recommendation goes to the state EO coordinator for final review. If approved, you get an email saying congratulations, you have been approved, and they'll give you a link to where you can download your certificate. However, if the coordinator agrees with a disapproval recommendation, you will receive a certified letter detailing what are the next steps, because you do have the ability and the right to appeal that decision. The basic standard process, on average, application takes about 60 to 90 days to process once you receive all the supporting documents. And again, MBAC assistance is available through this process. For WBE, the process itself is the same with one notable exception. While our MBE and EDGE applications are located on our Ohio Business Gateway website, our WBE and VBE applications are not there yet. So in the meantime, the WBE application is available on our website, wbe.ohio.gov, as a fillable PDF. And the VBE application is also located on our das.ohio.gov site. That's in an Excel form. So both of those, you can fill those out, save them, and then send them back to us so we can review those. For MBE and EDGE only, and only by working with an MBAC, there is an option to fast track an application. However, due to staffing levels and the fact that if we didn't build this criteria into it, then everyone will request it. This way, this process is only available if one of the following apply. An applicant desires to submit a bid or proposal in response to a procurement solicitation, and certification is a requirement to be responsive, meaning you're responding to an MBE set aside or an EDGE contracting opportunity where you have to be certified in order to bid or be accepted. Second, you have a pending DSA, Minority Business Development Division, financing or bonding application where certification is a requirement. Again, you're applying for one of DSA's loans or bonding programs where you have to be certified in order for your application to be accepted by their board. In either instance, these processes remain the same, except that you must work with the MBAC and get to gather and submit your documents. They will submit on your behalf as a fast track application. And when that happens, there's one officer who receives those, and all other packet processing stops for that officer, so that he can focus on the fast track application. The timeline usually drops to about 5 to 7 days for the fast track applications. Again, there are very specific reasons why this process is used. We would love to have the capability to process everyone's applications as quickly. With about 5 officers who process or cover the entire state certification, it's just not feasible for us to process all our applications that fast. Our final process is the cross-certification process, which is also considered an expedited process. If you are already MBE certified with one of the listed certifications above, you could complete an expedited or cross-certification form on the Ohio Business Gateway and provide us with a copy of your current certification. We will then reach out to the partnering agencies and request a letter of good standing. Once received, we will issue certification to match the expiration date based on their recommendation. Also, except for with OMSDC, there are two reciprocal agreements, so that if you get certified with the state first and then decide you want a city certification, you can do the same thing and apply with that city, give them a copy of your certification with the state, and they'll reach out to us to verify and then certify you. Something to consider: if you are interested in both MBE and EDGE, you will still need to complete a unified application and submit all the supporting documents for the EDGE, because this is only available for MBE at the time. Also, then your certification dates between the two programs will be different, and it could be confusing to keep track of both of those expiration dates for your certification. Because of this, a lot of businesses opt to not expedite or cross-certify, but rather apply in the standard way. So the certification dates do match, and it makes processing a lot easier. But this way is used in situations where you must obtain that certification quickly. And here's a splash page just of our contact information. I think I got done with the PowerPoint a little faster than expected. So if we have some more time, I could kind of go over a couple of things on our website if April would like to kind of fill in some more time, give you some helpful resources as well.
Yes, Michael, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Let me, I'm gonna go out this PowerPoint and I'm gonna go to our state site.
So Michael, I have a question.
Go ahead.
You showed the map of the state of Ohio with all those different points. There really weren't a lot of things in Lake County. However, once you become certified, you are eligible to bid and work on these projects throughout the state. Is that correct?
So I'm gonna try to go to the screen you were speaking of. Is this
There you go. That's it. Mm-hmm.
Okay,
That's
and can you
it.
ask your question again so I can kind of understand that fully?
So if you look at that, Lake County is not listed. However, my question is, if you are certified with those programs, you are eligible to bid on those different locations, correct?
Oh, so the bidding process may be different. So these locations here are cities that we have reciprocal agreements with based on certification.
Mm-hmm.
Say like the first one example is the City of Canton MBE program. If you have the state certification, like so say you're state MBE certified, you want the City of Canton certification, like say it makes it easier to process that transfer of certifications because there's reciprocal agreements. But if the City of Canton puts out a solicitation or a bid, I'm pretty sure that you use your state certification to bid on that project, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But I would assume because the certifications are reciprocal, they would allow that.
And then I know that we're here in Lake County, which is the Northeast, so we could definitely bid on the ones in Cuyahoga County, which is our neighbor.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so back to the website. Okay. All right, so as I mentioned in the presentation, our the VBE, which is the Veteran Business Enterprise, and the Women Business Enterprise applications, they're both located here on our website. So if I can move this, you see the website I went to here at the top is das.ohio.gov, and this is our general page you'll get to. The top bar here, you go over to divisions and select equal opportunity. And on this equal opportunity section, you'll see there's a lot of general information about our division and about things that we provide, our certifications in general. So under quick links here, you'll see it has options to apply for VB certification, and then there's apply for the recertification as well if you're trying to renew, and then apply for the WB certification. So as I said, if you click on one of those, the VB is an Excel form, and it should download that for you. You can click on it, that open it up, and then there's the VB application there, and it's really just a fillable out Excel form. Some of the forms you just type into, or some of the fields, and it's actually have drop-down menus in which you just select the drop-down and select an option from that drop-down. But you want to complete this in its entirety, save this to your desktop, and then you want to email that into our office so we can begin reviewing those documents for you. And then we'll go the WBE as well. Just apply for WBE right there. If you apply for the WBE, it's going to take you completely to the WBE page, which is going to give you some information about the program. So you have to scroll down a little bit on the WBE. And then once you get down here, you'll see this green hyperlink where it says available here. The application is available here. If you click on that, it should open up that PDF I spoke to you about. And this PDF is fillable. So you just click on the page and begin typing in your information there. Once completed with the application, you'll save this to your desktop and you want to email that into our office again so we can begin that review process for the WB as well. Also on our website, if you ever want to just browse the checklists, there's the certification checklist. There's a list of all different checklists there for each certification. You can go through those checklists and see the documentation required in order to apply for our certification. As well as there's some useful documents, some templates here as well that you may need to fill out for the certification process. For people who are just looking for other certified businesses, like if you're looking for other certified people in the same field you work in, to maybe joint venture with, or to get ideas, bounce ideas off of maybe. Here's the Locate MBE certifieds and Locate Edge certified businesses. And going through those options here will allow you to locate all MBE certified businesses in the state. If you want to just a list of every business, you can leave the search engine blank and just click search. And it should pull up every certified business in the MBE certification in the state. But that search engine is pretty detailed. And you can kind of put in whatever you want. If you're looking for businesses in certain procurement types, it gives you that option. Business types, I know you can do by region as well, search by different regions. It gives you the option to search for businesses in different areas as well. So if you're looking for certified businesses, that's a good toolkit to use as well. And then one other thing I'll show you on our site here. If you scroll all the way down to these red headers, there's one called publications. If you click on that publications, it will bring up our research and reporting page here. And the research and reporting page, it has a few good points of emphasis for you. The first thing I'll show you is the agencies, MBE officer and procurement officer list. So basically what this does is a list of every procurement officer or MBE and Edge officer for the state agencies in the state of Ohio. So once I open this up. All right, so you see we have like the Adjutant General's Office, Department of Administrative Services, Department of Aging, and it goes through. Oh, my Excel's being a little weird, sorry about that. But if you can see down here towards the bottom, we'll go over, and it gives you a person's name, first and last name, their position title, gives you the point of contact for their phone number, gives you the email address, and also gives you the procurement officer for that agency as well. A lot of the people who are the EO officer are usually the procurement officer for the state as well. They usually have that same position. So you see the name repeated a lot, but this kind of gives you a point of contact for a lot of agencies. And I'll show you how you can utilize that in a second here. Hold on. Projection plan analysis. So basically what you could do with us is, like I said, we keep a track of where agencies spend their money. So you can kind of go to this list here and it sees projected purchases for each agency. And you can kind of search by MBE, where businesses spending MBE money, their open market spends, all purchase types. You kind of go through here and take Control F and do. You can do janitorial. And they'll kind of janitorial products with DAS. It shows you an agency, the product they plan to spend on, and how much they plan to spend in that area. So you kind of, what you could do is you could use this, see where agencies plan on spending their money. If agencies are spending money in your scope of work or in your field of work, you can kind of go back to this list here, find out that their point of contact, who their EO officer is, the procurement officer is. You can reach out to that person, get that person your capability statement, let them know what sets your business, what makes your business different from other businesses doing the same type of work you are doing, and maybe give them some reasons why they may want to do business with you over doing other business with other agencies or other businesses who are doing the same scope of work as you. So it kind of gives you some point of contact for the agencies, and shows you where agencies plan on spending their money as well. So our research reporting section here is a big helpful tool in looking for how to do business with the state, points of contact, and where the state spends their money. And I think there's one last thing I can show. I'm going to move over to our procurement website. Let's get there. So our procurement website is procure.ohio.gov. It's pretty simple. And there's really two things I want to show to you on here. Once you go to this website, over to the right under quick links, there's something that's called a current contract search and a bid opportunity search. The first thing we'll go to is the current contract search. And the current contract search is exactly what it says. It's current contracts that are ongoing in the state. And what you could do with this is you can look up current contracts. Let's see if we can search by keyword, do janitorial again, just for the sake of it. We search by keyword. There's a lot of different things. You can search by contract status. If you have the obvious number, the contract number, index number, things like that, you can search by those. You can search by commodity type. There's plenty of different ways. But what you want to do is you search, and it shows that the contract is an open market. This is an open market one. It's already been awarded. The agency that awarded it, the contract number, gives you some general information on there. Let's see if we can open this up. And normally with the contracts, it gives you a general idea of what happened in order for this business to win that contract. You can make a public records request to get all the details involved in the contract, and you can show, it will show, the lowest bid, the bid they put on for that contract, the work involved with the contract. It gives you a lot of different information about the contract. You can click the view the original contract, view the terms and conditions of the contract. So it kind of gives you an idea. If you haven't did any business with the state or won a contract with the state yet, you kind of go here and look at some contracts in your field of work that have already been won and see how those businesses won those contracts, see what their price points were. Just get a lot of general information about those contracts. And that might help you build an idea, build a story about how you can begin bidding on contracts with the state to give you some ideas on where price points should be and things like that. And lastly, what I'll show you, I'm gonna go back to the homepage for procurement, is the bid opportunity search. So certified or not, you can do business with the state of Ohio. A lot of the open market things, maybe you may be bidding against larger companies, but you still do have the opportunity to bid. So we'll do janitorial again. And this bid opportunity search is current, what is out there for you to bid on, current contracts that are there available to bid on at this moment. If you hit search for janitorial, there's only one that popped up right now. But like I say, it gives you information about that. And those are contracts, those are open market contracts. If you want to go back and look at MBAC.
Hey, Michael, I have
Yes.
a question. You're zipping along like lickety split. So my question is, if you are navigating through this website, is there any way for you to mess it up where you're going to be like, oh my God, I just crashed the blah, blah, blah. Can you navigate pretty easily on this website, like feeling secure? You're not going to mess anything up. So you can jump on there and you can click on things, click on the drop downs. It's not going to lock you into anything, right?
Right.
So
Yeah,
it's easy
right,
navigation.
This page is really just general information. So the procurement site, you don't actually put bids on contracts here. It just gives you the information for those. Like bids have to be actually sent into the bid desk. So a lot of this is just for information. So you can kind of play around with this. You don't have to worry about getting caught up on anything. It's really just information and for your knowledge to see what's going on in the state and how things are moving around in the state of the contracts.
So you won't mess anything up.
Nobody's
on
just a search
anything. You won't
engine.
get locked in if you're navigating through this website and looking at stuff. And like you said, looking at how bids are moving around in the state, then that can help give you an idea about actually putting in a bid and feeling comfortable with that.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
All right. I think the last week we were on the bid opportunities. So I said that those are both like the bid opportunities and the current contract searches. They're both really just search engines. We kind of just search and see like price points in the state, what's going on in the state, just trends, current bids and things like that. Like I said, there's certain engines, like I said, nothing you do on here is going to get you locked in, and nothing that you're going to do on here is going to get you hung up. It's really just searching and kind of finding ways to search what you're looking for. They have a lot of different search boxes that you can kind of go through, but it's really just kind of playing around with this and seeing what's in your industry. And maybe if you plan on changing industries, you can see what's in the industry that you plan on changing to and see where the state's spending money there. So it's kind of just some ideas, gives you ideas where to go with your business. If you already have a set scope of work, it just shows you price points and how to bid on contracts that are already won in that field of work.
Great. You're like Google for the state. I'm just going to go, oh, let's talk to Google, Michael. Yeah, Mr. Google, we should call him for this.
Okay, now I know I kind of went to that last part fast, but that's really all the information I have so far. So I could be open to questions if April wants to field questions now.
Thank you so much, Michael. Sure, we have time for just like a couple questions if anybody has them. but I will, once again, we'll be sending over the contact information of everyone that we had on today. So you will have Michael's information. You'll have a copy of his PowerPoint slide presentation because we know there's a lot of information. And I did put our email address in the chat box below, and I'll put it in again, but please contact us to make an appointment with a business advisor because that's the easiest and best way to navigate through this process. Any
Very
last
good.
questions?
There was a lot of info.
Awesome. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, Michael.
Oh,
Yeah,
no problem,
thanks,
no
Michael.
problem.
Always a pleasure having you on with all that great info.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's what our
I'll
clients
try to
need.
slow down a little bit next time.
No, that was fantastic. I love how you added the procurement. You take them to the actual site, which is nice. That's what they actually need. They need to see it. So that was fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So maybe on our next scheduled session is actually about procurement. So maybe the MBAC team can reconnect with Michael to make that happen again through the procurement side of it. So that was awesome. Thank you.
If y'all want something really in depth on the procurement, let me know because there's a person we have in procurement office that does presentations. I know a little bit, but if you want to go in depth about that procurement, I know it's very helpful for people. But we have someone who does those presentations as well too.
I think that's what MBAC is going to reach out to you folks for, right, team? I think.
Yeah, that'd be
Yes,
perfect.
that'd be
We'll reach
great.
out.
Thank you.
Perfect. Perfect. No problem. Just let me know. I'm here to help.
All right, everybody, we are getting close to the end of our workshop today, and we are coming on the giveaway portion, the exciting part that Richard is going to take over today. So Richard?
All right, thank you, April. Okay, we thank everyone for participating today, and this is the moment that we have been waiting for. I mean, we've got a lot of great information. It's time for the giveaway. And again, like I said, we have 2 questions. I hope you've been paying attention. But before I give the questions, Pam, can you show us one more time what we have in store for our winners today?
Savannah White, we got it.
I know, that's what I feel like. Oh, so.
Okay, Pat Sajak. All right, so it's the 4477 nice coffee mug made by a pottery house, $50 worth of PCIC bucks, which is from the people who put on Party in the Park. So you can spend that in many places in the city of Painesville. $5 in scratch off, and then a notebook for you to write your daily login. So it's about a $75 value.
Thank you, Pam. All right. And like I said, we're going to have 2 questions. So hopefully you've been paying attention. And you have to answer the questions in their entirety. So we want to make sure you get this question correctly. And I'm going to give you these 2 questions. And the first question is,
this is a list of businesses that you can spend that $50 at. Okay, sorry, Richard.
That's okay. Okay, thank you, Pam. All right. And the first question is, what are the 4 types of certification offered by the state of Ohio? That's the first question. And the second question is, what are our 4 pillars for the Minority Business Assistance Center? So those are your 2 questions. I'm going to give you 30 seconds. Start now.
30 seconds. That's not enough, Pat Sajak.
Take as much time as you want, but no.
You're like the mean 2nd grade teacher. You have a minute and a half to recite the whole alphabet backwards. What? Backwards?
And you can put your information in the chat. What are the 4 types of certifications offered by the state? And what are our 4 pillars for the Minority Business Assistance Center? So go ahead and put your information, your answers in the chat. All right, you see, some people got the first question right. All right.
Someone got the 4 E's, but we're looking for the 4 pillars.
We want the 4 P's. Andrea talked about the 4 P's. So let's see if you were paying attention.
Yes, there are 4 pillars. 4 E's are different. It's different from the 4 pillars.
How about we give a clue? What did they start with?
What do they start with? Okay.
Shoshana, you
These are
can't,
growth.
you're not in
These are
this.
growth
Say that again.
pillars. Okay, come
Okay,
on, Miss
all right.
Daniels.
All right. Somebody. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Come on. Come on.
Okay.
You can do
Where are
it.
the rest of these?
You got 2 more.
All right.
Okay.
Come on.
Did Matthew get it?
No, Miss Daniels almost
Miss
has it.
Daniels
She just
almost
has
there.
one more. There's
Oh, you
just
got
one
it.
more pillar. Ah, she got it.
You got it. All right. So Miss Daniels is the first winner. All right.
Might have to add on a question, Richard.
Yeah, do we have another question we can ask?
Okay. Another question.
We need one more. Cause she got both.
You got it.
Yeah. Well, with Doris Daniels
Yeah,
got
Doris.
one. Okay.
No,
So-
she got the first one too, right?
Right. So she's our first one. We have two giveaways. So we know we have prizes for 2 people. So
Yeah, we need another question.
Absolutely.
another question. All right. Another question. Somebody, well, team, give me another question. Okay. Okay. Well, let's see. When can you certify? How long do you have to be in business before you can certify with the state of Ohio?
Good question.
Michael spoke on this.
All right. Kareem is the second winner. All right. That's it. We got Kareem Morgan and we have Doris Daniels. Those are our 2 winners. Congratulations.
Woo!
Yay. Yay.
Congratulations.
Congrats.
You can pick the gifts up if hopefully you're here in Lake County at Painesville Furniture and Carpet at 83 South State Street. We'll put them in a bag for you.
You want to put the information in the chat, Pam, so they'll know?
Sure, absolutely.
Congratulations. Good job.
Congratulations. And I'll send this in the email as well.
And I like I like some of the creative answers we got too. I mean, I'm glad to see you remembered the 4 E's, so that's good.
Absolutely. They were paying attention.
They were paying attention. That's what I'm talking about. An engaged business owner is the best business owner, so that's great.
I have to say one thing about Disney. I hosted a Radio Disney event in Fairport Harbor to get a traveling Mickey Mouse, and there's only 2 of them in the country. So 2 stay at the parks, and then they have 2 traveling Mickeys. It's $50,000 to bring traveling Mickey to your event. And it was a Radio Disney event, so it wasn't included at all.
Wow.
Wow.
And that was about 2012, 2013.
So what's the difference from that Mickey and a Mickey that I can go buy?
What's the what?
What's the difference in that Mickey and one of the other Mickeys?
Well, the park Mickeys stay at the park, and the traveling Mickeys have different outfits that they wear, and they're usually associated with like
Okay, gotcha.
Disney on Ice and Radio Disney, things like
Gotcha.
that. But so we had to pay for Radio Disney to come, which was $75,000, and then we did not pay for Mickey because we didn't have $50,000.
Right.
But Radio Disney, just to invite them, was $75,000. It was flipping nuts. So they really sell dreams.
Right.
Pretty expensive.
You would have thought that Mickey would have been involved, would have been just included.
For $75,000, you would have thought that. Yeah, but they're not.
Wow.
They do. It's something special about it, definitely.
There is. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I have that extra $50,000 for that. I can make a picture of them for you.
Right.
I'm putting in the address.
Thank you, Pam.
Mhm.
All right. We'll turn it back over to April.
Yeah, so everybody, thank you so much for taking the time to be here today. If you didn't put your information in the chat box yet, please do so now. And I will send an email, like I said earlier, with all of the contact information. I will be emailing the winners and make sure that you have that correct address to pick up your prizes. And just to let you know, we have a third workshop in this series that's coming up on August 19th. It's contracts and procurement opportunities with Lake County. So please look forward to attending that, and I will send the Eventbrite link so that you can register. Anything else from the rest of my team?
No, this has been fantastic. Thanks everyone for joining us.
Thanks for coming. This amazing MBAC team for all of your energy. You got
Morgan, her last name.
Avengers. Thank you, Pam, again for everything that you do, and thank you to the entrepreneurs out there. Thank you for the rest of our panelists as well. Thank you, everyone.
Yes. Thank you. Everyone have a wonderful day.
Bye.
Bye.